Good day. Welcome to the First Omega Podcast, a place for Helldivers, War Watchers, and Truth Seekers. I'm Roger, longtime commander behind the desk, and today we're pulling no punches. The Heart of Democracy expansion brought big promises, new tools, and a final push we thought would feel like a victory. We got our victory, but it ended abruptly and left us with a question mark. I sat down with Ulmodil, Rog, Beegrod, Wilfire, and Terry, all members of Omega Squad, for a frank talk about what worked, what fell flat, and what we change if command actually listened. Quick update, as of day 479, there is no major update. Bot divers are pushing on Galaver in the Talus sector, and the bug divers are holding their line in Azterrain in the Orion sector. The front keeps shifting, but for now, it's pretty quiet out there. We catch up in the conversation. Since this is new, we'll be working on the format and refining things as we go. I hope you enjoy this. And of course, give us a like, a share, or a comment below how you felt about the Heart of Democracy. Next week, we'll feature some of your comments and opinions in the intro moving forward. And let's get started. So at the end of it, I found Heart of Democracy was a 10 out of 10. Like, for pulling something off outside of what were the major glitches we had? We had the stratagem glitch was probably the worst of it all, but they did hot fix it, and it was only last for 2 days.
Yeah.
Well, and the flesh mobs under the
that was
the floor.
Like, all those cities were procedurally generated, so each map was like, I noticed because there was staircases that went to nowhere sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I actually have one video where I ran up a platform to get away from a mob, and I ran down a staircase, turned. As soon as I came over the top, there was just a wall at the bottom of the staircase. And I'm like, oh, fuck. And I turn around, and there's like, I don't know, 20 boatless coming over the top. I'm like, oh, crap. I can't even keep running.
Yep.
So what did you guys think of it all?
I mean,
Yeah,
I thought it was a good update. I mean, I think it wins for two factors, right? One, the story part is really good, right? We're holding Super Earth, the new mission type in the megacities. I mean, you got new mission types, you got new maps, you got Leviathan, so it's almost like a whole new environment. But not completely new, because it is a city, and we're used to fighting in cities because we've been doing that, right? Just not cities quite like this.
Well, I found, like we were fighting on the outposts and stuff.
Yeah.
And they had some tall buildings here and there, but like I was really impressed with, like, there's these alleyways that would occur, and you'd run down them, and like in the back of your head, you're like, am I running into a dead end? Like, you know, and it almost 99% of the time I'd run through somewhere, and I don't think I ever ran into anything where I couldn't go through. And I thought that was quite impressive with a procedurally generated map.
Yeah.
On that level. So.
Yeah, I thought generally all the Super Earth maps were good. I love the fact that you could, like, you still have all your same tools, but you know they got the Super Destroyers have to reorient to get a shot down between the buildings.
Yeah, I like that.
But, you know, orbitals aren't quite as good now because of the buildings, but boy, you know what is really good? Ducking in an alleyway and creating a choke point and then hosing the voteless with whatever, you know.
Yeah, like, I was impressed where you could circumvent, flank, come back around. They would lose track of you, and then you could just toss a grenade, like, come around a bit, and then run off the other direction. And so you could lose them in alleyways, you could choke point them.
Oh yeah, gas grenades, fire grenades, and then the fix to the way fire does damage is really good.
Yep.
You know, and so you've got all this, like, you want to play, right, because it's of the story and the new stuff, but I don't think it loses its shine quickly, because on top of that, you've got weapon progression. Yeah. So now not only are you playing because you want to, but you're also getting rewarded in terms of weapon progression.
Yeah, that was a quite impressive. I think when I logged in the first day when it first came out, like, I have a home-based office and I work for myself, so I was like Heart of Democracy came out, and I'm like, fuck this, I'm gonna go jump in and just dive into a level 7 and see what the hell all this is. So I have my first video where I look at the the actual like weapon stuff, and it's all had level 1 and all these buttons, and I just start giggling like oh my god, like fuck, I gotta the stuff. Okay, I'll figure that stuff out later, because I was confronted with all this like new stuff. I was like, okay, and I was recording everything as I was playing, so I don't usually talk when I do solo play, but I actually, like, if you go back and watch that first one where Laura goes down and fights the Ulmodil, like, just to see what it was, like, there was a moment where I giggled like a schoolgirl. It was hilarious.
Oh, it was good. No, it was super good.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, Phil. Don't just agree with Joe Rogan. Give me the other Joe Rogan.
Have a valid thought, Joe Rogan.
Have a valid thought, Phil.
Well, I was. You guys were talking, so that's all right.
Go ahead. Your turn.
My one criticism is going to be the ongoing criticism until they figure out how to allow the game to play itself, and that's where they'll ultimately lose, I think, the player base, is because they're going to run into a time where they can't write the narrative. They're going to have to allow the game to write the narrative itself, just using the mechanics. And
okay.
Everything about this particular update in the War Bond were, almost every element of it was contrived. It wasn't necessarily bad storytelling. It was just forced storytelling.
Yeah,
they had a story. You know, they had a story they wanted to tell, and you were going to play it regardless.
Yeah, I think I watched a dev blog, and they were talking about, one of the devs was talking about when they designed like this element, they had to design it twice. One for us winning and one for us losing. Because as contrived as we were kind of like, I actually saw the pattern, like the fall of the cities and the rate in which the assault was. I actually, like, one of my reward reports, Laura got a little fourth wall breaking. And he's like, do you notice that there might be something behind? Like, it's almost like we're supposed to fight on prosperity at the end. Like, that's supposed to be the last line, and that's going to be this desperate fight. So I did play into that a little bit in one of the videos, just because I was like, yeah, I kind of see that sort of like forced narrative playing out. Like, we're meant to lose everything until prosperity. And then, well, the Chinese divers basically said "F you" to Joel and said, "No, we're not. Yeah, we're not letting this like equity of C down."
Yeah, and you also see that, you know, and you also see the contrived nature in the mechanics, that equality on the sea wasn't actually ever fully liberated, and that's why they got review bombed. Last time, because it capped at 98. It wasn't allowed to be liberated mechanically, and that's because they designed it the way they designed it, that they had a narrative, and by God, you were going to play it.
Yeah, that's the forced contrived thing, is where they designed it in such a way where there was, like, all the cities were meant to be lost, and they created no mechanic or expectation that we would rally enough to stop one of those cities. And after York Supreme and Port Mercy or whatever, Port something, I think it was Port Mercy, fell, we were spread too thin over 3, and there are not enough Helldivers to cover all spots, so those 2 fell within like a day. It was very fast. And then then our entire force went back to Equity of C for, it was 12 to 16 hours before Prosperity came into the mix. So that, we were at 25% or something on Equity of C at that time, and that rallied us back up to 75 or something percent by the time Prosperity came in. And then it was just like nobody was going to let that one fall. I think at like, even after Prosperity came under attack, which is splitting our forces again, there was this sort of like, no, you're not taking this, and that got up to 98.375%, and that's where it kind of peaked, or 99.357 or something. And then wouldn't go any higher, and that's where everybody got pissed. And they're like, oh, They saw that suspension of disbelief thing. They got pulled out of it, realizing, oh, we can't take these back and secure it. So like on the contrived thing, like they always say, like, oh, you can win this, or it's your choice as players. But yeah, it was kind of but there are limitations to programming, and like you can't like create every eventuality, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So my biggest complaints would be the fact that we couldn't push back and capture cities, and the second part being that the Illuminate fleet simply disappeared at the end of it all. Like I found to be like, okay, it's just over, and I'm like,
well, yeah, and that's just bad storytelling on that end. It's just anticlimactic
because
that you don't.
Because if you were creating this desperate fight to the last city, and we managed to dig our heels in and hold, the second part of that story is the rally back and take back what they took from us. You see, like that's a normal tactical military situation. Like I guess you go back to World War II with the Battle of the Bulge, right? So the Germans push through, they create this big bulge in the Allies' lines, and it's the same concept. Is like there's this immediate like, oh crap. Then you rally yourself together, stop the offensive, and then you push them back into Germany or whatever. So we're missing the second part of the narrative in that specific storyline, right? So,
yep, and I'm sure they saw the fatigue.
Well, it was 11-day grind, but I'll tell you what. I put one video out I says I know we're exhausted, but we're bending but not breaking, or some sort of like, it was something along those lines. And like I don't get a lot of comments, but the comments I did get, there was nobody like agreeing with that sentiment. They're all like, no, we're good, like we're solid, we can do this. I was like, oh, and it was a small sampling, obviously, but like I was getting fatigued not from playing. I was getting fatigued because of like how fast everything was happening, and I wanted to do these war updates every day. Like I was getting tired of like that grind. But that's my choice. Like I'm trying to do something here. So like, okay, well, there's content. Let's do content.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, but I mean, everything else apart from the story, and that's why I play games. It's just because of the story. But the clipping and all that other stuff, I mean, it worked. It still worked, even with the Watchers, and the flying overseers taking the imaginary elevator up a skyscraper.
Yeah. I was wondering about that. The floating overseer, like near the top of a skyscraper. You're like, I don't know if that's effective to go that high, but okay, I gotta shoot him fine.
Yeah.
No.
That was few and far between, and the nature of procedural generation and clipping and having it not actually be as terrible as I expected it to be, I think that's a solid victory for them.
Oh, no.
It was much more than just playable. It was fun to play in the cities.
No, it's like there's a moment where it's over and you're sitting there going, okay, and then you go back and you fight we did that one. I know you guys played yesterday, but we played the night before we went to the bots, and you were kind of back to the old grind, and it was kind of refreshing in a way, but it was also, you kind of miss the cityscapes because you're like, you get used to like playing with those options for like putting them into like funneling him into an area and just like tossing a grenade in there and like taking out an entire swarm of whatever voteless, right? So overall I was I don't know, I've always been like, I'm not a hater on the game at all. Like the struggles to get things right, and like the odd thing like for the game loop that it is, and the different factions, and how you get tired of the bots, you go fight the bugs, and it's a completely different game. I mean, with the same concept, but it's still fun. And if you get tired of that, go fight the Illuminate. Like that's like you have like 3 different games in one, basically.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I would just rather at some point, I'd rather see some natural consequences rather than, again, contrived. And I think that for me is going to be the fulcrum of whether or not the game has staying power past
like so many
this
years.
year.
Like another year into it. Well, they say this was Act 1 in their storyline. That's what people are saying.
Yeah. But the activity is severely dependent on those war bonds, and they're gonna have to find some way of breaking that cycle, because I know that is a huge drain on their resources to have to continually come out with like brand new content.
Like, and it's every 6 weeks now, like 6 to 7 weeks. So even
that's huge.
Yeah, because like it's new, especially if they're putting in new mechanics, like the new grenade, the sparkle grenade that came out. Like that's a new mechanic, right?
Yep. Yeah, because you have to concept that, you have to code it, and then you have to somehow find time for QC.
You laugh because I know why you're laughing on that one. Like QC, right? Yeah. Quality control.
It doesn't exist.
Is there a department? Because sometimes the stuff gets released, you're like, did you guys even test this?
Yeah, no. There's QC doesn't exist anymore. So the fact that things actually work with them is, again, is a compliment, of course. But yeah. But again, it's just that's the fulcrum for me. Is that at some point there has to be some manner of not automation. Joel still exists, but just let the map play. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, because we can see the manipulations, right?
Yeah,
like, we can see where a city's not being taken, like in the last campaign. Like I was watching the Illuminate numbers, and when they wanted a city to go down, they would bump it up to 6.8 or 7.0% offense.
Yeah,
and the best we were rallying like 2 or 3%. And we had like 60, 70,000 divers on a city, and you're going. Some of our planet liberations, were never even that high. And I get it. The Illuminate fleet became spread, but it was kind of like, okay, it's not being taken fast enough to fit our storyline, so we have to ramp up that number. And you can kind of see those manipulations. And the best storytelling is where the people in the story don't know they're in a story. So you can't push that narrative so hard and get to if it feels artificial, right?
Yeah.
Well,
but I mean, normally games will do that. Normally you'll be on a linear path, and to some extent, and you'll have some offshoots with side quests or whatever. You can do whatever, right? The story is the way it is. You can only make your own story as much as possible, but there is a way for Helldivers to allow that storytelling to be freer.
Yeah, so they've created something unique here if you think about it. The fact that there is more choice and not just that linear path. Mm-hmm. So like I guess everything we're saying are minor gripes on the grand scheme of things. Like I still enjoy the game loop. I still enjoy the game for what it is. Like I know there's a lot of people on Reddit are kind of haters about and they get really frustrated about stuff. But at the end of the day, like I got 1,200 hours into this game, and I paid $40 for it at the end of the day. And I think I might have spent $10 or $15 extra in super credits along the way, just because I was a little short here and there, and I didn't really care to grind for a couple hours. So I was like, if you added up $65 total and 1,200 hours of enjoyment, time, and energy, like I don't know, plus all the time that we spend together. Like at the end of the day, it's more about the 4 players sitting in a Discord having fun and the game is more like just the medium in which we're doing, and it's fun enough for us to keep doing it, and that's that's the point of their game loop. At the end of the day, the story is sort of like a background character to it all.
Yeah, yep, and that's again, that's where I see the fulcrum being, is that at some point they're going to run out of that story, and the story's just going to have to be played on the map. And there's room there for narratives to play out, where they can say, where they can introduce something, or they can introduce a surge or something like that.
Well, there's two big storylines that they haven't really gone into yet, like the gloom and what's behind the gloom. We were only kind of teased with that concept, so there's a lot to go in that direction. And then the entire cyborg nation and Cyberstan thing.
Yeah, like deep space.
Like there's entire narrative that could be played out there, and the Illuminate have only just been introduced. You know what I mean? And we don't even see the full spectrum of the Illuminate yet. Like, there's all these leaks about 3 or 4 more units that haven't been introduced yet, which means they're slow playing their content, which is probably a smart thing to do as a company at the end of the day. Imagine if they threw everything. They just plunked the Illuminate right beside Earth and said, these are the 3 planets they own, and here's all the things and everything, and they attack, and here's everything we got. And you'd be like, it'd be good for about a month, but everybody would, get tired of it. So they
well, the way we consume it, we binge the shit out of it.
Yeah, no shit. Like Jason just started and he's level it was I don't know, 5 days ago, he's like, hey, I'm level 50. And I was like, that was our cap before, right? 50. You know how long it took us to get to 50 back in when we started?
Yeah. And we weren't even playing 10s, right?
No, that's why, because we weren't playing 10s, because we didn't have the tools, we didn't have the same firepower, the balance.
10 didn't exist.
10 didn't exist.
9 was the highest.
Yeah, we mentioned that. I was like, but because we're we're veterans grinding on Illuminate level 10, he's racking up the experience. He's blowed past 50 in no time.
Yep. So. Yeah. Which is kind of sad, That does kind of suck, but it is what it is.
No, he's also playing like a Banshee as well, but Yeah, I don't know. Do you think they made everything too the rewards a little too high at the end of the day? The progression was fast. I mean, we also binged it and they put 100, 200 hours into it relatively quickly, and that a game can only have. They could have never anticipated that level of intensity, right?
Yeah. It's so. I mean, you have to take it. You have to take it in context. It is ridiculously difficult to make a good shooter game with all the animations being as realistic as they are, and have that be procedurally generated. And have supply lines, and have real, almost realistic, military strategy
and mechanisms throughout the game, eh?
Yeah, and have that living map, and then on top of that, and this is where I'll get to my point shortly. On top of that, try to figure out a player economy that allows you to purchase and acquire, these stratagems and these benefits. I'll cut them slack there, because both of those things are almost impossible to do. They made a really good game on that one end. I just think that the economy and the progression of it is still garbage. Not ultra garbage.
Well, we're not getting microtransactions to death either. Props for them for managing to do it the way they've done, generate revenue along the way from in-game currency and war bonds and stuff like that. And for the most part, the war the last one, outside of them buffing the armor, is still on that mission. I did 15 minutes before the Illuminate fleet went down. I grabbed the Master of Ceremony armor, the saber, the gun, and I said, "Fuck it, I'm gonna go down into Illuminate level 10 and do whatever, shoot the gun, shoot the overship out of the thing." So I wanted one final mission before it all ended because I didn't know what the end result was, whether we'd be able to play again. So I got that footage, but fuck me, that was the hardest and most ineffective I felt. Like I was shooting ship shields with the rifle, what was the rifle called?
The Amendment. Yeah.
The Amendment. And I was running out of ammo all the time. It was barely taking shields down. Like it was, I ran the Eruptor Stalwart as like, that was my, I did take the heavy, like the laser cannon as my support weapon, but even then it was still not enough to make up the difference. So, like, it wasn't that the Illuminati were fighting any harder. It was like I was completely ineffective. Plus, the guy I was playing, like the group I just jumped in on, the guy took the, what do you call it?
Hi, Bryan.
The cluster rocket, whatever that one is.
Oh, yeah.
Like, and he was
airburst.
The airburst, and he was killing everybody, including me, like multiple times. I watched the video back. I'm like, oh, that's how I died. The guy was like firing it right beside my head. Hey, Bryan.
Hi. Sounds like Scrubs.
Yeah, it was Scrubs, but it was the only. It was like 7 a.m. on the last day of the Illuminate fleet death. So one thing I also noticed, mechanic, like in a video I was watching, I was processing, is when you're in the FRV and you drive forward and you drive backwards, the heavy machine gun will tilt based off your momentum.
Yep.
They did have to put that in.
Yeah.
But they did. Like, that's the shit. That's why everything in this game is so effing complicated. Okay, they could have put it on a pedestal. It could have leaned forward, and they could have left it. Like, you could drive around, and you would never see it move. Nobody would even care.
Yeah.
But I was sitting there. I was waiting for Jason to get into the thing. I'm getting samples, and I was just driving back and forth, and I just noticed that the gun would like tilt forward and then tilt back, and it was real physics and mechanics. And I'm like, oh, thanks, Arrowhead. That's awesome.
Yep.
But then you realize, like, oh, the entire game is like that. Like, there's a day-night cycle on the planets, dude. Like, it blows your mind.
Except for, like I said, the kind of mid to end game. I call it a currency. It really is a currency because you're continuing to collect all of these things, but there's just nothing to spend it on, and the progression, was fairly top heavy. But yeah,
I'm afraid to see what the next step of ship modules is because the last set was just ridiculous.
You guys talk amongst yourself for a sec about that. I'm gonna go help let my dog down because it's losing its mind upstairs.
Yeah, I just feel like they're just gonna bump it up more,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, they could have prerequisites for folks to get, the lower tier stuff first, build up to the higher tier stuff. That type of tiered progression could work well in this kind of game. And then just leave those caps. Yeah, I don't know. I get it. They're having to play catch up with the economy at this point because we've all stockpiled everything. We're all maxed out.
Well, and just the cadence of their release schedule. Not that I'm critical of it, but they just cannot produce enough content to satiate the community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
they're so like you kind of mentioned, they're so far behind. Technically,
and that's just they're not making the content behind.
It's just the game is so much better and more well received than they ever could have hoped, and they just keep up with the ravenous people that want to play it.
Yep. Yeah.
What were you guys talking about while I left?
Just how Arrowhead's been behind from the start because they weren't expecting the reception that they had, and it's just scary kind of for the future of what we're gonna see in progression.
Okay, okay, let's like I had asked John and Phil for their honest take on Heart of Democracy. What's your take on it all?
I mean, it's the biggest content we've seen in God knows how long, and I thought it was cool. I mean, new map, new side missions, new primary missions. Let's see, what did they do for enemies? I guess they added the Leviathans,
which were cool as shit,
and
flesh mobs too.
Yeah,
and interlopers.
Well, that was technically before. I know I guess they might have just had it all complete and then rolled it out in 2 segments, right? That's kind of how that worked.
Well, yeah, I mean, I count that all as part of the Heart of Democracy. All the stuff that happened in the week before, where we got the war bond and then we got the attack on the outlying planets. That's all part of Heart of Democracy in my mind.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's all part of the same update.
Yeah.
So yeah, with that, I mean, that's the biggest content update we've seen. That's been free since what? I don't know, since they even added the Illuminate.
Yeah, them adding the Illuminate was the last.
So like almost a year ago.
No, that was October, November, or something. Was it around Christmas?
That's it.
No, it was around. Yeah, they got it out before Christmas. They did the Illuminate hit and runs, and they brought out the Voteless, the Overseers, the Tripod Walkers, and the Seers.
Maybe.
So.
Well, they shadow dropped it though, didn't they? They're like, they showed it at something and they're like, you can go drop in this now.
Yeah, they were at the Game Awards.
They shadow dropped it.
Yeah.
So, and I think that was late November, around like everyone was like worrying about getting something out before Christmas. Like we weren't gonna get it and they were gonna go on holidays. And then they dropped the Illuminate and it was like the biggest thing ever.
Yeah, okay.
And that was 3 months after the buff diver date update.
That's true. Yeah.
So they had fixed a lot of their problems, and we had come back to enjoying the game. And then this happened 11 days ago, 12 days ago now.
A world before balancing.
And that's May, so 4 months. So December, January, February, March, April, 5 months. So 5 months to drop the Heart of Democracy. So, and I think there's more to come. Like the Illuminate have to be a playable race at this point. They can't not use what they've built in the last 5 months and just hide them away behind the wormhole or whatever. So there has to be something next. And they've been slow playing up to this point. They slow played the Illuminate coming out. They slow played the invasion of Earth because they did the outlying planets and introduced a few of the extra, like the interloper, the flesh mobs, were the Leviathans in the outlying planets? I don't remember.
Like just as carcasses or something, they
weren't flying around, were they? Like Leviathans on like Widow's Harbor or New Haven or Peel and 5?
No,
I don't remember them. I don't think so. I think all it was the interloper was the only new air unit, and then they had the flesh mobs, which were all like, oh fuck, what the fuck are these, right? And then the Leviathans, once we got into Super Earth, became a thing. And then we had all the new side missions and everything else. So they had 1 stage, 2 stage, and then now there's little hints in the scrolling bar that we might be going into the wormhole, or they're sending stuff into the wormhole. So something's got to be next with the Illuminate. They as a game developer can't have them on the sidelines for any amount of time, especially after releasing the new update, like new content. They can't take it away.
I think it also depends how hard they go into like what they release for the other factions as far as stuff we're missing from the first game.
Yeah. So if I was to give it a rating out of 10, I'd say it was 10 out of 10. There are some minor issues with it all. And Phil brought up some good points about the narrative and how that's going to run dry and the game sort of has to become more self-sufficient or more automated. And there was a little, like Phil said, there was a lot of contrived storylines that they were forcing us to get down a certain road. And that's why that review bobbing happened. But overall, like I'd call it a 10 out of 10 for delivery and execution. But that number will go down rapidly if they don't do something on Tuesday that would give us indication of what's next.
Yeah. Yep. Gotta follow through with the momentum.
Yeah, because everybody's okay with like we're all okay with like a few days off to just like decompress and like we don't have to play the major order because there is no major order, and so that's cool. But I know if they come back and like go take this planet on the bot side, you're like, okay, where's the Illuminate? Like, what happened to them? What's that storyline? What are you guys doing? If a week goes by and nothing happens, like you're gonna start seeing a lot of like the numbers drop, I think.
I wouldn't get your hopes up that something kind of substantial with the Illuminate's coming quickly. No, I'm not saying it should, but like even if they don't give us an opportunity to play, at least tell us what's happening. You know, like run the story and like set the next thing up. But we'll see. You know, Arrowhead's been pretty good at like even when everybody's bitching and moaning on Reddit. You know, who takes Reddit seriously?
I don't even read it, but you do. So you're the only one in here. Like, does anybody else here read Reddit?
No, and that's the thing is it's a scope because I don't tell you guys about the praise posts. I tell you guys about the really funny negative posts that have absolutely no basis.
Yeah. I do understand that there's a selectivity bias.
Mm-hmm. Well, because the people who praise the game, like, I love the game. That's not funny or entertaining to me. What's funny or entertaining to me are the people shitting on it or complaining about completely useless things.
It's just funny to listen to their complaints, eh?
As far as this update for me, I don't want to put a rating on it. The narrative doesn't mean shit to me. The gameplay was fun. Newish content is fun. I was more excited about the weapon customization because it gives me more of a reason to play like whatever map we're on. I don't give a shit.
Okay. No, fair enough. Well, you can still rate it out of 10 based off what you like about it. Like, what's your rating on the storyline? You're like 0. I don't give a fuck.
Well, basically, I mean,
okay, your rating is based off of what you enjoy in the game. So, on the things you enjoy, how would you rate it?
Subjectivity.
It's all subjective.
I mean, that's not an easy thing for me either, just because there's a lot at play.
Don't tell me how to rate the game.
I'm just saying it's a lot more than just this part good.
Come on, this is the first Omega podcast we're doing right here. I'm interviewing the members of Omega. I'm asking for your that is your opinion. It's fine. No, don't worry about it. I've stopped trying with you. Beegrod.
Well, Bryan, think about it like this: like, how does the Heart of Democracy update rate compared to like Omens of Tyranny or other ones? Like, you don't have to say like a number. Just was it better or worse? Same.
I couldn't tell you what was in Omens of Tyranny. Was that when like Siege Ready and those city maps came out?
Yeah, that's when the Illuminate came out. We got the city maps, Siege Ready. Yeah.
It was all the Illuminate hit and run stuff, and Siege Ready and all the urban stuff came out. Like the first colonies we got.
My answer is I don't know why I'm here. I know that I must kill.
Yeah, but you're playing Deep Rock Galactic, so you can't kill whatever you can kill there, but nobody's seeing it. Anyways, do you guys want to do something? I got an hour. You guys were done. No, we didn't really do anything. Like,
we've been talking.
Phil was playing a fishing game. No, we haven't played anything.
Did you stream it? Because it is interesting.
Do what?
Did you watch Phil? Did Phil stream it in Discord for you? Because it is interesting enough to watch, especially if you know anything about Viva La Dirt League.
No, it wasn't.
They don't know anything about Viva La Dirt.
He was playing a fishing game.
It's particular. It's an in. The whole thing's an in joke. You gotta be in on the humor.
Yeah, I didn't get it. I watched it. I'm like, I don't get it, so I'm good.
They have no idea the significance of my holy garlic.
We can play some Wreckfest if you want to go racing. We could do we don't have to do a full set in Helldivers. We could do like a set of just do one mission just for shits and giggles. We can, I don't know. I don't have Rocket League, so I can't play that.
I'm just in free play fucking around.
Oh. Actually, Phil's launching Wreckfest. God damn it! I have to finish. I'm in level 2 of a mastery, then I got to do level 3, and then I can switch over.
Hey, well, I'm going to log off of Helldivers.
Roger, while you're waiting for me, you should just go set up Epic and get Rocket League.
No, I'm not.
It's free. It's free.
It's totally free.
Rocket League is free.
Yeah, completely
free to play.
Yeah.
Well, that wraps up part 1 of the first Omega podcast featuring Ulmodil, Rog, Beegrod, and myself. There's more coming, part 2, possibly a part 3, as I track down Wilfire, Terry, Bob, Theran, and Dark to round out their thoughts on the expansion, Heart of Democracy. Thanks for sticking around this long, and yeah, I've been informed I said about 47 times during the podcast. I didn't realize how many bridge words you use in a course of a conversation until you listen back to the audio. I've got a lot of work to do on my interview skills, I know. I'll tighten it up, I promise. I appreciate you being here, really I do. If you got any thoughts on the episode, the format, or the expansion, drop a comment. I'd love to hear from you, and it will make the next one better. We're building this together, one story, one episode at a time. So thanks for being here, and I'll catch you on the next one.